It's one thing to hear about the fertility problems in Korea, but it's another thing to see how it presents itself in day-to-day society. While I was exploring Seoul, something that immediately jumped out to me was, wow, I don't see many kids around. And immediately following that, I saw the direct inverse, which is one of the results of a low fertility rate, and that was a rapidly aging population. I noticed that there were a number of elderly people out and about, sometimes doing leisurely things, but most of the time doing manual labor like cleaning, cooking, serving food, those type of things. And although there are a number of reasons why elderly is so noticeably present in abundance, there is no doubt that decline of fertility is one of them. However, I did notice that when I traveled outside of Seoul, kids were not just more present, but in a way more accepted in society. I'd see welcoming things like playful children-inspired art. I would see more people out with their kids in general, and I would even see more child accommodations in bathroom. And this is crazy to me because when I thought about fertility decline and people not wanting kids, I often thought about it as a lack of resources thing rather than an ideological prejudice against the child type of thing. I never really thought that people had some type of beef for kids, but apparently people did have some type of beef for kids. Like one day when I was on the train and I was thinking about the differences in the communal acceptance of children, I looked online, I wanted to see more things about it, and I found these articles, and that is when I learned about child-free zones in Korea, meaning that there are establishments that ban kids, and these bans are said to combat like behavioral disturbances. Now, I feel like regardless of your culture, there are some unwritten rules and extra considerations that parents usually take when they think about where they should or shouldn't bring their children, like let's say a club or something like that. But in a place like America, I feel like even though it may lack some tact to bring your kids some places, people still have the autonomy to do what they want. It would just come with like a few side eyes. But in Korea, some of the places that are no children zones include places where you may want to bring your kids or need to bring your kids to be able to at least enjoy yourself a little bit, like let's say a museum or the movies. But to be honest though, when I think about it, a lack of third places seems to be something affecting youth everywhere. But alongside the lack of kids, there is another very prevalent juxtaposition in Korea that led me to many questions in regard to the fertility decline. And that is the fact that there are so many couples everywhere. This is actually one of the first societal things that I noticed when I touched down in Korea. Now, what do couples tend to do? They have sex. And I feel like even with the mindset and the choices to not have kids, there's things that just happen. Sometimes things happen and babies get popped out. But I feel like this type of thing is not really happening in Korea. So this made me wonder, what is the tea on birth control in Korea? Like most men from any nationality, I kind of figured that Korean men probably wouldn't care for condoms as much. And in a country where population is a problem, I figured that they would have some restrictions on abortion. So I was curious to know, what other forms of birth control are couples taking to keep themselves child-free? And interestingly enough, I found that even oral contraceptive wasn't really that popular, let alone any type of implants. And that mostly couples rely on condoms and a good old-fashioned pull-out method. So I'm like, okay, I guess capitalism and trauma is as good as any contraceptive can be then. But when learning about the contraceptive use in the country, I did start to think about how environmental factors can affect the body's capability to reproduce. I wondered about how the physical toll of the psychological damage that comes from a highly stressful, highly competitive educational and job market can have on you.